Hello, I'm Skid from the Widescreen Gaming Forum. Today I'm going to be having a look at whether or not a multi-monitor system gives an unfair advantage in first-person shooters. The reason for making this video now is because a few weeks ago reports started coming in that Infinity Ward, the makers of Call of Duty Ghosts, were going to ban people using field of view fixes. Now, to be fair on them, they didn't say that this was because it gave an unfair advantage, but since this is the second time they've released a game that has a broken field of view and they are not letting people fix it, I figured it was a good time to make this video. So before I start, I'm going to be trying to look at this from as an objective a viewpoint as I possibly can, focus on facts, what advantages are given and how they affect gameplay, etc. However, as someone who games on a triple monitor system, my personal opinion is inherently biased, but I'll be trying to keep away from that as much as possible. Also, I'm assuming you have watched my last video on multi-monitor gaming and unfair advantage, and as such I will skip some of the finer details that I covered in that. Okay, so first things first. What advantage does a multi-monitor system give? Unlike my video on real-time strategies, this is a little easier to state. The advantage it gives is extra peripheral vision. Now again, it's not simply a fact that you can see more, so I'll break it down a little bit more into detail. For those of you watching on a single monitor system, it's worth stating that how you're currently watching this video is not how we see the game. Now, if you imagine playing your favourite FPS on your main monitor so it fills the entire screen. Now, if you then imagine that you have a monitor either side of that and the game world extends into them, that's effectively how we see the game. Now, the advantage given is not simply, or is not as simple as being able to see X amount more. All the extra vision is sitting in your eye's peripheral vision, in which you cannot actually see detail. To illustrate this point, if you hold out your hand to the side of your monitor and look directly at the center of your monitor, or the center of your main monitor, then keeping your focus in the center of the monitor and without moving your eyes away, keeping your eyes on your center monitor in the middle of it, without turning your eyes away, how much detail can you see at the back of the hand that you're holding out to the side of your monitor? Now, the answer, if you're being truthful, is very little, and that's because the eye can only see detail in a small area that it's currently focusing on. I think it's something like 30 degrees, it might be more, but I couldn't actually find the specifics of it. But the actual area you can see details is very small compared to how much your eye can perceive at any given time. Now, this means that everything outside of your focus vision lies in your peripheral vision. Now, while you can't see detail in your peripheral vision, your eye is really good at seeing movement in your peripheral vision. And you will have what's the best way to describe it? If you've ever had the situation where you think you've seen something moving out of the corner of your eye, that's a result of your peripheral vision detecting movement. So there is a downside to that. Because you can't actually see detail in your peripheral vision, then you don't know what moved. So you don't know whether or not, for example in a first-person shooter, whether you saw a hostile moving or a teammate. The only way to find out would be to turn your head or point your character to face them and then take your eyes off what you was looking at in the first place. Now, how well you can pick up movements in your peripheral vision does depend on how much you're concentrating. If you've heard of an effect where someone gets tunnel vision because someone is focusing hard on one particular task directly in front of them to the exclusion of everything else, this also applies in video games. If you're managing to watch the footage that I put in the background, which was from the Titanfall beta, I miss a bunch of things in my peripheral vision because I'm concentrating too hard on what's directly in front of them. Now, however, for the purposes of the next part of this video, I'm going to work on the assumption that the person playing always perceives everything in their peripheral vision. So that brings us back to the question at hand. Does it give an unfair advantage? Like in my last video, this is how I'm going to define an unfair advantage. An unfair advantage is a reasonable advantage given by something that is not accessible to everyone and that cannot be overcome, countered or otherwise replicated by existing systems, mechanics or skills already available to everyone playing the game. So, does it give an unfair advantage? Well, the answer to that, in my opinion, depends upon the game mode, the actual game that you're playing. So, we'll break it down. We'll start with 1v1 deathmatches. In this case, the answer is most assuredly yes, it does give an unfair advantage. In a one-on-one fight of players of equal skill, assuming both players can shoot straight, then the person that sees the other player first has a much higher chance of winning. Now, there are ways to reduce the effect of this advantage, like constantly looking around you, but even then, if the other player has more vision, they will still see you fractionally sooner, so they'll be able to get their shots off sooner, giving them an advantage. So what about team-based games, say a 4v4 or 5v5? In this case, I have to err on the side of no. The reason being that in team-based games, especially small teams like 4 or 5 man teams, communication and covering each other is almost always paramount to winning. So if we assume that as a whole every team member is covering each other's directions so they can't be flanked and they are communicating to each other, which they should be doing, then the person with the multi-monitor system has no real advantage, because the other team will see him the second that he is able to see them. Now, if a team is working together properly like they should be doing in any team-based games, even if everyone on the other team has a multi-monitor system, they're just not going to be able to make any real advantage out of it. Now, this effect becomes more pronounced the more players that are actually on each team, and when you start get to 16 versus 16, 32 versus 32, or PlanetSide 2 scales of battles, the individual becomes less and less relevant to the team completing the objectives, to the point that you get in PlanetSide 2 where the individual counts for bugger all. So, what about other game modes like 3-4 deathmatches? Now, I have to be honest about this one. Despite thinking about it multiple times over the months since I did the last video in this particular series, I can't come up with a definitive yes or no from this one. The problem lies with the nature of 3-4 deathmatches. While it is a match focused on each individual player trying to win, the fact that everything that moves is a potential target makes it an inherently chaotic fight. As a result, you're just as likely to be taken out from someone directly behind you as you are to be able to sneak up on someone from their side where you can see them and they wouldn't see you. Due to the chaotic nature of 3-4 deathmatches, they are not really conducive to a truly competitive game mode, due to the fact that it's hard to say for sure that the person at the top won because they were just flat out better, or because they just happened to be in the right place at the right time to finish someone else off, or because someone else was just feeding them because they were exceptionally bad. The advantage a multi-monitor system gives becomes limited due to the total number of eyes in the field, and with the nature of this type of game mode, that advantage can vary wildly. So while I can't debate if it's an unfair advantage or not, I can say that there's no legitimate reason to ban such a system. And again, the reason for this comes back to the nature of the game mode. Because 3-4 deathmatches are not conducive to a truly competitive game mode, it's a much more casual mode. Because of this, most people playing it are either there just to blow off steam, they just want to blow shit up, or they're there to have fun. At which point, any advantage given that isn't to the detriment of the other people playing largely becomes irrelevant because everyone's there just to have fun, including the people with the multi-monitor systems. So it's not really fair to say that they can't use their systems when aim is still king, and the more skilled player will likely still beat someone using a multi-monitor system. But that pretty much covers all the basic game modes. So I think I will leave it there. As with my last video, please feel free to leave your own comments and opinions in the comments section. Also, please remember, however, that everyone has a right to their own opinions, even if they differ from your own. Anyone bringing personal insults or acting in a manner I deem not respecting the rights of other people will find themselves banned from commenting on my channel. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Riding on board. Friendly pilot is clear of your Titan.
Rock and roll.
Shield core online. Shield core activated. You now have increased shield capacity. Caution, you are outnumbered 2 to 1. Eject. Eject.
Be advised, your replacement Titan will be ready in 2 minutes. Be advised, your replacement Titan will be ready in 60 seconds. Your replacement Titan will be ready in 30 seconds. Replacement Titan online. Signal when ready. Acknowledged. Stand by for the Titanfall.
Dominating.
Engaging guard mode. Auto Titan engaging enemy Titan. Transferring control by pilot Titan. Caution, you are outnumbered 2 to 1. Damage core is offline and recharging.
All units, this is Tech 6. We are crushing the insurgents. The battle's almost over. Tech 6 to all ground forces. The situation is under our control. Well done.
Be advised, the militia forces have been defeated, but enemy survivors remain.